Hey everybody, it is Saturday, May 26th, and I'm here at the Mount St. Helens National Volcano Monument. It is the Johnston Ridge Observation Center. So we're planning on coming up here and doing a little trip down from here down to the Hummocks Trailhead. Ran into a slight problem though. So, okay, over that way is Mount St. Helens. You can see behind me now. You can see behind me there. Yeah, the clouds have not cleared out yet like they were supposed to. We're about an hour behind schedule as it is, and this was supposed to clear out about 11. It's a little after 12 right now. It's a little foggy out. We're up in the clouds, basically. A little over 4,000 feet elevation. So we're going to go hang out in the observatory. We're going to hit the visitor center, maybe go watch the movie and stuff, and see. This was kind of burning off as we're coming up, so hopefully it'll continue to do so. Otherwise, we may head down and just do some other trail like around Spirit Lake or something like that. So a little bit of just kind of going with the flow. So we'll see how it turns out. We'll check in a little while. All right, so we're back outside. We went inside the interpreter center and did some movie. There was a movie and stuff about the eruption we watched. Back outside, and it's kind of lifting up, but we don't think it's going to get any higher than this. So we're going to go down to Coldwater Lake and maybe check out Harry's Ridge a little bit. So just going with the flow, being a little not the lava flow, just the regular flow, and being a little flexible today. So we'll catch up again once we get actually on one of the trails. All right, so before we get out, that's right there is where the Mount St. Helens is. You just can't see it right now because of the clouds. So that's
elevation of the lake.
Spirit Lake over there. That lake, because of the landslide when it first hit, washed the water up about 800 feet up the side of those ridges there, and when it came back down, the lake was about twice the surface area and half as deep. It lifted the bottom of the lake up about 150 feet from all the debris. You can see these are just still actual logs that from trees that had snapped off in some of the original blast. 38 years ago, just over in a couple of weeks, a little over a week. All right, so we decided to come down to Coldwater Lake. We're just going up on the north side a little bit, and we just happened we were hitting the restrooms and stuff before going on the trail. We're probably not going to only do a few miles today, but came over and started talking to us. Weirdest little story. He's a logger, or was a logger. He's I think he said he's retired now, but he was actually here on the mountain. Well, in the area when St. Helens blew 38 years ago, a little over a week ago. It was May 19th, I think, 1980. And so he tells the story. Then he was back years later. The company he was working with was logging some areas, and he found a body. Well, parts of it at first. They were marking some areas for logging, and he was climbing up this ridge, his buddy down below kind of directing him as far as how up to go. He was climbing up this little rock face and got over the crest and came face to face with a skull sitting there. Couldn't find the rest of it at first. It was a little further up the hill, like it had been when he found it, the leg was pinned under a log and some other stuff, and it was skeletal at this point. This was like, he said it was 3 years after, so it had been about 83ish. 84, he said. Turns out, and anybody that knows some of the history behind St. Helens, I'll see if I can find some more information, but turned out it was the body of a National Geographic photographer that was out here doing photographs. And they talk about how at the time they didn't know anything about the power and what was going to happen when that thing blew. We stopped and watched the video at the interpretive center at Johnston Observatory and learned a few things, like the side of the mountain that fell off is the largest recorded landslide in recorded history. That if you take all the amount, it was just like billions of cubic yards. If you took it all and piled it up in the space of a football field, it would reach 350 miles high. And things like how the blast was at 300 miles an hour. It took about 43 seconds for it to travel from the mountain to the 5 miles to the Johnston Observatory, stuff like that. So I'll try to find some stuff to link to, more information about some of those things. So we're gonna go hit the trail a little bit. So this is a momentous occasion day because this is Bonnie's first day back on an actual trail after her dislocated elbow injury. We can use the poles for support and fun stuff like that. Cloud layer seems to be keep moving up a little bit more. I still think we're not going to get any views of the mountain, but or the volcano, I guess you could say. There's Christy back there. A few folks out fishing. So this lake was actually formed. Coldwater stream was here, but it got dammed up after the blast, formed this lake. And due to things like bacteria and plankton and stuff being transported by birds and ducks and stuff like that, basically within 5 years after the blast, this lake had an ecosystem comparable to lakes that were thousands of years old. So we were talking a little bit earlier about how quick things can adapt. And then it was stocked with fish by people. The fish didn't come here on their own.
Out there on lupins?
I think so.
That little mound out there is probably what's referred to as a hummocks. H-U-M-M-O-C-K, I believe. They'd seen these debris fields or fields outside other volcanic areas with all these little mounds and stuff, and they were never really sure. They just called them mystery mounds. That was funky. A little piece of cottonwood drifted by and changed the focus on the camera. Anyway, squirrel. So until St. Helens blew, they didn't know really what it was. Then basically this similar field was created at St. Helens here, and they realized it was basically chunks of the mountain that were just blown and landed. Now this is pretty far. This might not be that, but it very well could be, I guess. Washed down and stuff with the wave of debris and all that. The original landslide occurred at about 150 miles per hour. Traveled for, I think they said about 7 miles, maybe more, I forget. And then the blast that blew the side off St. Helens traveled at 300 miles per hour, traveled the distance from the mountain 5 miles away to the Johnston Ridge Center in about 43 seconds. And basically it covered an area the size of Chicago, like 200 and some square miles. The sun's not breaking through the clouds, but the crowd, oh no, it is. There's some blue sky over here now. I still don't think we're gonna get an opportunity to see the volcano today, unfortunately, so I'll just have to come back again. Alright, so I don't think I mentioned, but when that guy was telling us the story about the body he found, he said he was on Spud Mountain, and that's that one right there. Used a peak lens to figure it out, and then the one over on this side, that's Castle Peak. So that's our only glimpse of Mount St. Helens, really. There's that little white ridge, or that little white slope there that's going up towards the peak. So that's as good as we're going to get today, I think. There, I'll do a little video of it not moving.
That's right.
So one last stop before we head out, we stopped at the bridge overlook. This is one of the bridges over one of the areas that was built after they returned. So just to some quick stats for folks, like this bridge, you can kind of see it over there, is 2,340 feet long, 370 feet high. Let's see what else, steel trusses. They reforested this area within 2 years afterwards, and some of what was lost was 3 logging camps, 22 crew buses, 30 log trucks, 39 railroad cars, 12 million board feet of logs, 650 miles of road, 19 bridges, and 16 miles of railroad were buried in ash or washed away by the mud flows that swept down the river. So, yeah, so that kind of wraps it up. A little short, almost like touristy trip today. I'll find some links to some other stuff on Mount St. Helens, so you maybe link below and add in. And, but yeah, that's about it. Hope to see you next time on the trail. Bye now. So this is just a little roadside, it's like a souvenir stand area, but this is a A-frame house that was buried in ash from, and so this is all, I think, between 4 and 5 feet higher than it originally was. So this was the second story of this house. Sorry, I had a little addendum we had to do there. You can still see in.
How many feet of ash in this end? 6?
Okay, maybe, I think I heard somebody just say it was closer to 6, but see they got it braced and dug out a little bit in the front here. You can see in there, like the stove and fridge. Looks like they built a platform at some point. Yeah. And over there is a fridge that was buried from another house that got trashed.